Hey you guys, what's going on everyone? Welcome to my channel. My name is Kiafa. Welcome back to my tribe. So okay you guys, so I guess this video, I made this video earlier on the live, excuse Rocket, but I decided that I was gonna delete that one and then just come and do this one because I feel like it's better. So anyways, this video is gonna be telling you or telling you how you can find a job in 2021 as a surgical tech, you guys. Now this is for anybody, but for the YouTube algorithm, I'm gonna say that this is for surgical techs, okay? Now, the first thing that I would do is I would go onto LinkedIn and I would go on to Instagram and I would start searching people as surgical techs, nurse managers, and the director of the ORs. So on LinkedIn, you will know if it's the director of the OR or a nurse manager or a surgical tech or even an OR nurse that's in that facility or in the state. Like, let's just say you're in the area and you can't find jobs or whatever, or maybe it's only one hospital. You might have to go outside your city or your state. That's the first thing. But before you just up and move, start networking with people on these social media sites, because they actually are real people and are the ones that are gonna be interviewing you and things like that. And so you'll be able to find your nurse managers, the directors, and the surgical techs and the OR nurses on LinkedIn. Now on Instagram, you're gonna have to search the hashtags, or you can just type in surgical techs, OR nurse manager. Just type in the same things in the search bar on Instagram and see what comes up. But you may have to play with it. Like, you may have to look up like hashtag OR life or hashtag scrub life or something like that to find the surgical tech. And then it could be like the same thing with the nurse managers, hashtag nurse manager. Hold on guys. Okay, so once we have pick whichever social media site you want to go look up, then you're gonna message 10 to 15, as many people as you want. Don't spam people. I think on some of these sites there's a limit on how many messages you can send. You can also do this for Twitter and Facebook. Twitter, you would be searching the same thing, the same titles, or you would be able to search. Now Twitter, you may be able to find like the hospital's website and things like that, and so even maybe on Instagram, but probably for sure if it's a hospital or a medical facility, you might be able to find them on Twitter and on Facebook. And then you can either look up who is liking their post or who's commenting on their post and like hit them up, send them a message. Now one of the things that I would do that might seem a little extreme, you guys, is I would have my own website. Now I know this sounds crazy, but it's really not. It doesn't cost that much to get a website. It's way easier to get a website than it is to go into a car and to be trying to drive to these places and trying to like do, like in-person stuff. Don't do that. Get you a website. I do not promote Squarespace or Wix. I mean, they're good, I guess, for you just to throw up a website, but if you actually want to have control over your website, you go to wordpress.org and you get a self-hosted website from WordPress. Typically you can go, I made a video on my channel, how to build a website, and I use Bluehost in that video, but I'm gonna make another video so you guys can actually see how to, like, a really quick way to make a website. And you would just take your picture and do a quick about me, right, and a quick contact page so they could have a way to either email you or to call you. I would just do it with email when it's online because it's easier to kind of filter the crazies than like when people calling you. But you can still have a phone number. Like, you can get a Google Voice number and you can put your Google Voice number on your website, right? And then whoever calls you, Google Voice records it and they like buffer it a little bit. And so you can use Google Voice, a website, and like yourname.com or your first initial and last initial.com or something like that. Like, get you a .com so it's super legit, right? And then you put your picture on it and a professional like suit or whatever, however you want to present yourself to these employers. And then on the site though, you're gonna have, like, maybe on the About Me page, you will have a button, and the button will be a downloadable button. So once the person clicks the button, you can either have them fill out their email address and stuff and then they get the download, or they can just instantly download it. Now these people that are going to this site are probably going to be recruiters or nurse managers or things like that. So you can either have them put their email address in so you can reach back out to them or follow up with them. That would be a great way to do it. Or to make it easier for them, you can just let them download your CV or your CV or your resume, right? And it would just be one button, and they would click, and you would have your resume or CV in a PDF form, and then once they press the button, they would be able to download that document, and they would have a copy of your resume. And on your resume, what I wouldn't put is my address and my cell phone number. Like, I wouldn't put that personal stuff on there. If you got a business address, you can use that, but I wouldn't put any of my personal information on my downloadable resume. What I would put is an email address, and you can go get a Google or Gmail, email address. It could be for example, Kiafa at gmail.com or whatever, like Kiafa at gmail.com, and then that would be where I would be receiving all of my emails, right? Or not emails, but my the communication from the recruiters or whoever's going to be trying to contact you. So you want to make sure you have a way for them to contact you. Like I said, you can use a Google Voice number if you do want to put a phone number on there, but you need to put a buffer between you and like the crazies. So don't put all your personal information on there, right? So once you have your website, then now you don't have to have a website, you guys. You could just use a LinkedIn profile. You can use or an Indeed resume profile, because Indeed does it too. I'm pretty sure there's other people out there that do this, but the two that I know about and that I think most people are familiar with is Indeed and LinkedIn. And so what I would do though is on LinkedIn, I would start putting daily messages on surgical tech facts, right? Tips about a surgical tech, whatever like that. I would start doing that on LinkedIn. And then I would put that would be on LinkedIn. So, but my resume, let's just say if I'm a new surgical tech, I don't have no experience, right? So my resume might not look like a surgical tech that has had experience. So what I would put on my resume, if I was a new student without any experience, I would put my old job on there, because you want to have some type of experience. So maybe you say 8 years of customer service because you worked at Walmart or something like that, right? But then, two, it might not translate into surgical tech. So what I would do is I would go look at a surgical tech job description, and I would put, I would translate my old experience to like surgical tech, right? So maybe you don't have patient care experience, but you got customer service, so it might kind of translate. Don't lie. Two, you also want to make sure that like when you're in clinicals, that you are paying attention to the things that surgical techs do, because you can put this on your resume. So let's just say I'll be on time because, and I know this will, but how to say, I'll be on time, and I know how that is going to be helpful to, the benefit of the team or something like that. Like, you got to kind of not lie, but you got to kind of take what you already know and apply it to the surgical tech job. And so to know the surgical tech job, you need to look at the description and then take what you already know and kind of mesh them together, right? But you're gonna learn this while you're in clinicals. You need to pay attention in clinicals, like be on time, right? And if you're on time, then you're not rushing. When you know you can't be rushing, because you're gonna miss something, right? So you need to be on time. You probably need to be early. You probably need to go ask them the night before or the day before, like, do you know what cases I'm gonna be in? So you can kind of study up on the cases and then have little notes. And so you can even tell them what you learned in surgical tech school. Like, as in surgical tech school, I learned how to be efficient, and by being on time and making sure that I have everything that the surgeon needs, communicating well with the surgeon or my surgical team. Like, just kind of you're gonna need to use your clinical experience to put something on your resumes, you guys. And so go ahead and do that. But because you're a new tech, they're gonna know that you're a new tech. So it's not like you're lying. Like, but you can't say I worked as a surgical tech for 8 years and then you didn't graduate until like last year. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. But you can talk about your previous experiences with dealing with, let's just say it was fast food, you can explain how dealing with customers that were frustrated, how you can translate that over to how to deal with doctors that may be frustrated, and basically just trying to dissolve the situation, before it escalates. Like, just kind of, you're gonna have to kind of pay attention to that kind of stuff. And so I would start paying attention to that in school. Now, my school was a little different because I was in the Navy and it was a long time ago. But what I would tell students now is to take more notes in the OR. Like, yes, you got to focus on going, taking the exam and all that stuff. But when you in clinicals, that's when you really are gonna get access to the OR without having to kind of be all the way on your own. Now, don't get nervous when you get to your place of work for your first job. They're gonna teach you what you need to know. So, so be in mind of that. But at the same time, when you're filling out like your resumes and stuff like that, you're gonna need to kind of take what you already learned previously in the work experience and like convert that over when you're talking to these people, especially when you're giving interviews. Like, if you can put on your thing customer service, and then when you're talking, they're gonna ask you about how things how you've been in a bad situation or something like that, or how you well, it's like, how did you de-escalate something in a bad situation? What was the time that, you know, they're just trying to give you scenario. They're gonna give you scenarios in like these, in your real life, but even though, not real life, but in your previous experience, but even if you didn't have any previous surgical tech experience, you just need to be aware of how your customer service, maybe how your job at Publix prepared you to stand on your feet for long periods of time, that kind of stuff, you guys. I hope that made sense to you. I hope I didn't confuse you. But you have skills in other jobs that translate over to being a surgical tech, but you need to look at the job description to get an idea of, oh, you know, patient care, customer service is kind of the same thing, even though it's not, but it's still very similar, right? Because to deal with the patient, you might have to be a little more have a little more sympathy for their situation than like an angry customer, like, but you still want to get that angry customer like some understanding at the same time. So it's one of those situations. But what I want you to understand is, sorry guys, there's something in my eye. What I want you to understand is that there's something that you already know how to do, that you learned previously, or if you didn't have a job previously, then you need to pay attention really a lot in your externship and your clinical rotation, because that's where you're gonna start learning how to be a surgical tech or how to be an asset to the surgical team, because sometimes students may not even be able to get to scrub into a case, right? So how can you still be of asset to the team if you can't scrub into the case? Maybe you go do put some trays together, right? Because that's still part of the SPD people are still part of the surgical team, right? So maybe you go learn some instruments to put in some trays together. Maybe you go to the supply department and start putting some case cards together. You know, like, do that kind of stuff, because being able to touch and look at different tools and or equipment and things like that is still gonna benefit you, you know, as a surgical tech. So you can talk about how, you know, you were in SPD for most of your clinical services, and how that benefited you into learning a lot of different instruments, and how learning those instruments are gonna be good for you. It's gonna be an asset to the team, because when the doctor asks you for an instrument, you can have it, or because you've been exposed to these instruments, you know what they can do, and you can just kind of you can start anticipating, because now you have a broader knowledge of instruments and how you can use different instruments for different situations. And even though, let's just say, you might not have an instrument that the doctor's asking for, you can still supplement and say, maybe I don't have this pen, doc, but I got this pen instead. You know, like, that's just something that you may learn at SPD. And some people look at going to SPD as a you know, like, I want to be in the OR, and yeah, you do want to be in the OR, but shoot, in SPD, you still got all the instruments that they're going to use in that hospital. So you have to use that for your benefit, right? So go down there and learn these instruments and learn these trades. Maybe you get on at the hospital as an SPD tech, you know, maybe you get in that way, maybe you get in another kind of way, you know, and then you might get the job. And so don't dismiss being an SPD, you guys. I know techs don't want to be in SPD when they go to the OR. A lot of times they want to be, you know, I mean, when they go to do their clinicals, they want to be in the OR. But SPD at that facility is just as important, because you're gonna still need to know how to read an indicator. You know, you're still gonna need to know. And once you see, like, it's almost like muscle memory. Like, I remember one time not even realizing that I knew something was that the indicator hadn't turned. Like, after a while, because you'd be so overwhelmed for so long that you don't realize you start actually learning. And so I remember hating being in SPD, and I remember, like, y'all messed up big time one time at one of the places I was at. Like, I ended up processing a scope in the autoclave when I should have been putting it in the Sterad, I think is what it was at the time. And so yeah, that happened. And so I remember, you know, I was in the Navy when that happened, so I didn't have to pay for it or anything like that. But I did have to do like extra duty because I wasn't paying attention to the details, which is true, I wasn't. Back to the whole how to get the job part though, like you still can reach out to hospitals if that's something, like I think I said that earlier. The hospitals the hospitals may be on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook, and not on Instagram, because Instagram, if they got a good social media team, like they might be on Instagram, but a lot of hospitals are still very conservative, so they don't do certain things, and Instagram is still fairly like a new social media platform, but they definitely are on Twitter and they definitely on Facebook because they know that they need to be on those places. Also, you can maybe even go onto their Google page. I might not do Google because like then you got to go through the whole like you're being on there with reviews and stuff like that. But if you're looking for a job, go on Instagram, go on YouTube, maybe search, you know, who's on YouTube, and maybe you can email them, maybe you can message them on Instagram or on Facebook. Like start reaching out to surgical techs, reach out to OR nurses, reach out to the the director of the OR and the nurse managers. You can find these people on LinkedIn. Recruiters as well, you can reach out to the hospital recruiters, but they will probably get you into, like, I would try them as well. Like don't exclude anybody. So reach out to the recruiters. If you see recruiters as well on LinkedIn, Facebook, reach out to them, get your name seen. Make sure you applying at these places too, on their actual job website. Like LinkedIn would be a good place too, because on LinkedIn you can apply, and I think on Indeed you can apply directly to the jobs as well. So I think if you had to, you could build out your resumes on those, but I would do a whole website around my stuff. And then too, that's just gonna make you stand out even more if you have a website of your own name. Hey you guys, I also wanted to say that having your own website allows you to send people like the nurse managers and stuff to your website where it's just you. If you use Indeed or LinkedIn, they're also going to be able to search for other surgical techs, or if this is for another profession, they'll be able to search your competitors. And then people are looking for you as a surgical tech or as an SPD tech or whatever. Sorry, I'm messing with my straps. I got like 3 straps on, like why? And so anyways, I would go ahead and do a whole website. And I would too, if you do build out your resume, like I say, just do a generic form one, and then you can upload them to the different platforms. So you don't have to just keep making, doing website, or not website, but keep doing resume building. You don't have to do that. Another place too, and the last thing I'm gonna talk about is going traveling, but to find to get a travel job, you have to have experience. So this would be more for the techs that got at least 1 to 2 years of experience. Excuse me guys. And so then if you're having trouble finding a job in your area, you're gonna have to probably move, and I would go traveling, and then that would just really be the end of it. Just make sure you have your profile with several of the agencies. It sucks because you have to go in and do skills checklists for all of them, right? But once you do the skills checklist, and then you got 1 to 2 years of experience, you will definitely get a job traveling. Like, it won't be hard. It's probably not as hard as people think it is when you're looking for surgical tech jobs. I think people want to find jobs in their area, and so that's what's making it a little difficult. But if it really came down to it, like, you might just have to move, and that's just what it is. And so that's all I got for you guys in this video. I guess to just give you a quick summary, in order to find a job, I would use social media, you guys. I would use social media, every outlet on social media. I would post consistently on my profession, just to let people know that I'm in this profession. And I would continue to do that on multiple sites. Oh, and I think I said to message the people that either like a post that you are following. So if you went to Instagram and then you saw that somebody, you know, work at a specific place, you can message those people that's working at the place and be like, hey, are you guys hiring? Can you get me, get me an email address or a phone number or a contact, you know, at your facility? And then you can do that on LinkedIn as well. Send out I would try to send out like 10 messages, and I bet you a day until you get a job, and I bet you end up getting a job. Just send these messages out. Go to Instagram, put either a LinkedIn profile or an Indeed profile in the description as your link, right? And then when people go to you can be like the link in the description, surgical tech for hire or something like that in your caption, right? So you can put a picture, maybe you can put a picture of a quote that you came up with or some fact about surgical techs, right? And then in the description you can put surgical tech for hire. And I bet you will get somebody that hit you up. Maybe not on Instagram, like maybe you just connecting with other surgical techs on Instagram, you networking on Instagram. But on LinkedIn, you can post every day around surgical tech, the career as a surgical tech, what you liked about surgical tech school, you know, some tips about surgical tech. You know, it could be about services, whatever you could come up with. Like you can just post that, and then, or you can just post quotes for the day, and then at the bottom you can put like surgical tech for hire. This is free, you guys, so it doesn't cost you anything to message people on LinkedIn. So go over there, send out some messages, put some posts up, you know, connect with people, let people know like, hey, my name is, when you connect on LinkedIn or on Instagram or Twitter, you got to be a little careful because you only got a little bit, so you want to maybe have a link to something else on Twitter, like check out my recent post on surgical tech on Twitter, and then send them somewhere else, right? And then once they go over there, then maybe it's to your Instagram profile, right? And your Instagram profile got a picture. Well, you can do pictures on Twitter, but if this just say you got a post or a quote on Instagram, and in the caption it's got surgical tech for hire. And then and you could put whatever cities that you want to work in, like surgical tech for hire in these cities, right? And then you would go message as many people in the surgical tech community that is a nurse manager community or the OR nurse community. You could just do OR nurses because they might not put nurse manager, they might just put OR nurse. And then you could just send start friending them and start sending them like DMs about, you know, your speed and stuff like that, whatever you want to talk about surgical tech stuff. The same thing on LinkedIn, you guys. It's just, you're gonna post information around your profession, right? And then not only so you'll have that, and then you'll have something in the caption that might say surgical tech for hire, or maybe your post is surgical tech for hire, right? Maybe you just go and do a post on CST for hire, and then you can put in the captions the same thing, CST for hire in these states, and somebody at some point it will hit. I'm telling you, you guys, especially if you posting it on the feed and you're reaching out to people in the DMs or in their message, whatever message platform you're on, they will contact you. So do 10 of those a day until you find a job. Now, another place that you can find a job, if you already a surgical tech, is with Medley and with CareRev. Those are both per diem places. But if you are looking for a job and you don't have experience, or you've been out of the game for a while, this is what I would do, you guys. So I hope this was helpful to you. I know the video is like 20-something minutes long, and I'm probably not gonna edit it. So I hope you get what you're looking for out of this. And yeah, I know I probably repeated myself a couple times, but it's fine. It is what it is. I just wanted to make sure I got the message out to you. I made this video earlier and I took it off. I did it live and I was like, no, I'm gonna just do it as a video so I can post it right now. So anyways, you guys, I hope you did enjoy the video. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that good YouTube stuff. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.